What's going on, guys? This is another episode of Growing Pains with Zion Haynes, the only show to answer the question, what's in your wallet? Okay, by a show of hands, how many of y'all want to be rich? Y'all kind of just staring back at me, but I'm just going to assume that your answer is probably yes. For you see, I have scoured the internet looking for entrepreneurs and millionaires and business people on how they gained and maintained their wealth. Of course, there's been common strings among these videos about make sure you read constantly, make sure you get enough sleep, make sure you find a mentor. These common strings are rather boring, and honestly, I think it misses the main part. But let's get real. There's one piece of information that's often overlooked and is very crucial for you to maintain and grow your wealth. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about financial literacy. Have you ever sat in class and hoped that your professor will teach you about taxes, how to handle your money, or even how to leverage it? Well, pull up a chair, young gents, because an improved knowledge in financial literacy is the key to all of that and so much more. But before we get into that, remember to do the common YouTube things. Remember to like and subscribe, and comment what do you know about financial literacy. Do you have anything that you can provide to me and the other viewers that could be helpful? Oh, and one more thing. Let's see if we can get this video to 25 likes. It seems like a fair trade to me. You give me one of these free bad boys right here, and I will give you the introduction for you to generate and maintain your wealth starting today. But with all that said, thank you for your support, and let's get back into the video. Before we go any further, let's define what financial literacy is. So, per a quick Google search, financial literacy is the ability to understand and effectively use financial skills. This applies to personal finances as well as investing and budgeting. Again, as your introduction to this skill, we're going to break down this definition piece by piece and focus in on the aspects that you can start working on today. And the first piece of that puzzle is tracking your money and budgeting. Listen, if you're anything like me, looking at your bank account is like looking at your grades. You know that it's low and you honestly don't want that confirmation of it, but you hoping that it's just a little bit higher than you left it. Honestly, it just fills me with so much anxiety just looking and anticipating it. That is something that I, and you should as well, learn to overcome. Get accustomed to checking your finances and your budget weekly, if not daily. The first part of this equation is tracking your spending and categorizing your expenses. You can categorize your expenses a lot of different types of ways, but a very simplified way of doing it would be dividing your expenses into what is necessary, such as your rent, your groceries, your insurance, and what is discretionary, such as eating out, shopping, or going out for drinks or technology or something like that. I'll include an example of the categories I use for my budget somewhere on the screen. Remember, these categories can be as complex and as descriptive as you wish. But of course, the purpose of the first step is to track your spending and see where your money is really going. Are you spending a large percentage of your income on just rent alone? Is a lot of that money going off to paying off a car or some type of debt? Are you eating out too much? Tracking your spending will identify the black holes in your life that are sucking up all your money. The main thing that's going to allow you to have more money, to leverage your money, and to start that business is if you start living below your means. Cut out all the things that are discretionary. Maybe you can look for a new place to live that would be cheaper or possibly more safer. There's a lot of different ways you can reduce your spending and live below your means. But the main way to stay consistent is having a budget. A budget is essentially a spending limit for each of these categories. Categories like housing, car, and groceries are probably going to encompass most of your budget, but yet maintain about the same value from month to month. Before you start developing a budget for anything discretionary, I always recommend that you create a categories for saving and investing a little bit of your money. Even if it's just 5%, 10%, $20 a week, something is better than nothing. Budgeting is not meant to put shame on you for eating out or having self-care. You're not a bad person if you go over your budget. But the thing is that if you want to become rich and you want to end up owning your own business, tracking your expenses, budgeting, living below your means is the first step to all of this. Some helpful tools that will assist you in your journey of budgeting, you can use Excel or you can use what I do, which is Mint.com. Mint.com is essentially a website where you will input your information about your debit cards and your credit cards. It will track the transactions that you had throughout the month. Mint.com uses the same engine as TurboTax, so therefore it will have about the same security as them. However, if you're wary about that, make sure you do your research or potentially develop your own budget over Excel. But once you have a budget and you start saving money, what will you do with that money? Well, that brings me down to number 2. The second step that you need to be financially literate is investing. I'm sure you heard of various forms of investing. Stock markets, mutual funds, Forex. There's a lot of different things that you can invest in out there. I would love to make a video about that, so make sure you add in the comments if you would like to see something like that. But for the purpose of this video, I would like to highlight one specific investment account, and that would be the Roth IRA. Simply put, the Roth IRA is in a retirement accounts where you can put post-tax dollars in and have your profits be tax-free. Now, this is not the investment itself, it's only the account. The catch is this. Number one, this is post-tax money, meaning that you already paid taxes on this money already. Number two, your contribution limit is $6,000 depending on your current income level. And number three, you cannot pull out your profits without fees until you're of the age of 59. You may be confused why I would suggest this type of account versus anything else, but the main point is this. The first point is that luxuries like Social Security, which our grandparents and great-grandparents benefit from, might not be around when we're about that age. In fact, 22% of Americans don't even have $5,000 saved up for their retirement. Secondly, getting rich is a marathon, not a sprint. Do you think that Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk of the world just got rich overnight? Of course, they applied a concept known as compounding interest to build their wealth over many years. Simply put, compounding interest is when you have an initial investment and then you get an interest on that. And when it compounds again, you get interest on that interest. And it just keeps stacking up until you're essentially a millionaire. But instead of trying to explain the math, let's go to an example over here. So let's say for this first example that you start with initial investment of $1,000 and you invest $100 each month for the next 40 years. The S&P 500 returns about 7%, so we're just going to use that for this example. So at the end of the 40 years, you will have approximately $250,000 in your investment account. Now let's say that you decide to max out your Roth IRA. Maintaining the same rate of return of 7%, you will have at the end of your term $1,212,000 in your account. By that point, you're automatically a millionaire. But let's say that you're a little bit savvier and you're able to get about 10% return. If you max out your Roth IRA and have about a 10% return on all your investments, you will easily have $2,700,000 in your account ready for you to withdraw when you retire. You see, with minimal, consistent investment, you too can become a millionaire in just a few years. I'm sure many of you are asking what to invest your money into. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do recommend that you do not invest in anything that you do not completely understand. Make sure you do your research thoroughly before you invest in something. But if you want to see a video about my own investments, my own personal strategy that I use for investing or just finding different things like that, make sure you add a comment in the comment section asking for that type of video. And the last thing you need to understand to be financially literate is credit cards. Having good credit can allow you to leverage your money so much more than if you were just paying cash or had bad credit. Good credit can lead to low interest rates when you're buying a home or a car or even looking for investors in your company. Your FICO score or your credit score is identified by these 5 categories: payment history, amounts owed, length of credit history, credit mix, essentially if you have credit card, if you have other types of debts, and new credit, essentially how many lines of credit do you have. Of course, this is an introductory video, so we're not going to go too deep into it, but if you want to learn more about credit line, of course, do your research or comment in the comment section if you would like to learn more. But for purpose of this video, I would recommend those that do have a little bit of credit history to apply for a no annual fee card, and for those who have no credit history to apply for a secure card. A no annual fee card like the Chase Freedom Flex, the Amex Everyday Blue, or even the Apple Card are completely free to open, provided that you have good enough history. The main benefit about this is because these credit lines are completely free to open and maintain, you should keep them forever. Open them and keep them forever. Keeping these cards open and making sure that you pay the balance off every single month will improve your credit dramatically over time. An additional positive about these cards is that they come up with sign-up bonuses. Like the Chase Freedom Flex, you can earn $200 bonus after spending $500 on purchases in your first 3 months of the account opening. Of course, I wouldn't recommend you spending money that you normally wouldn't already, but if you have rent, insurance, or anything like that, spending $500 in 3 months is not unreasonable. But for those who do not have credit, I would recommend the Discover Secured IT card. Essentially how a secure card works is that you would put in a security deposit and that would be your credit limit on that card. For example, if you deposit $200, $200 is your spending limit. This is helpful to allow you to not go over your limit and inadvertently damage your credit. But really, don't make it too complicated. Get a secure card, put 1 or 2 expenses on it each month, pay it off, rinse and repeat, and watch your credit grow dramatically from month to month. And of course, the added benefit with this card is that you get 2% back when spending money on gas stations and restaurants. But the world of credit cards is so vast. There's so many different cards with cashbacks and points and rewards that with good credit you can have access to. But above all, I want you to drill in these rules into your head about credit and never break them ever. Never, ever break them. Number 1, pay off your credit card balance or your credit bill in full, on time, every single month. And number 2, don't spend more on your credit than you have in your checking account. No exceptions. If you're not buying big ticket items, or rather if you don't have to, by following these simple rules, you will allow yourself to build your credit and be responsible with your money at the same time. So to recap, first, make sure you track your spending and develop a budget. Second, open up a Roth IRA and start a long-term investment plan. And third, open up a secure card or a no annual fee card to start building your credit today. Like I said, this is only the introduction to financial literacy based off my own experiences. So if you want to see another video about that, more about my own financial literacy experiences or anything else like that, remember to comment.